Welcome along to Obsession Engineering for what should be the shortest job on my SP1, and it's something that's been niggling me ever since I got it. The thing that separates an SPY, a first year bike, from an SP1 second year bike is SPYs had paddock stand bobbin mounts on the swinging arm. SP1s, which were 2001, didn't have them. So this bike had always had the option to having paddock stand bobbins on it so you could get it on a proper paddock stand. For some reason though, somebody who has owned it has been insistent on putting it on a cheap like cup paddock stand. They were quite the rage in the 90s, so I'm guessing somebody had a crap 20 quid job from an auto jumble or from a bike show somewhere. And as is quite common with them, it scratched the swinging arm, which is quite annoying. Obviously the easiest fix, and the thing that somebody's done, because you can see from this rectangle here, is put a sticker on it. Don't like putting stickers over damage. What I would like to do is have this all looking absolutely pristine and like brand new. And I found a man on the internet who can refinish the swinging arm for me. The slight issue with that is it's quite expensive, and I've got to send him the swinging arm, so I could have the bike taken up a workbench for quite a long time. So what I'm going to do instead is have a go at it myself. What could possibly go wrong? So this machine that looks like a giant Dremel is a die grinder, and it has on it today a small linishing wheel. So basically lots of little pieces of sandpaper all on a little wheel. And what this does is gives you a nice linished finish. The metal on Honda frames and swinging arms has a nice linished finish. It's very, very uniform and consistent. I'm not expecting that little linishing wheel to give me the consistent finish of the rest of the swinging arm. But if I can make it a little bit better and hide some of these marks, I think I'll be fairly happy. The advantage to it being on the left-hand side of the bike is that it sits on its side stand so people don't see it because it's away from them, and it's basically hidden behind the standard exhaust. So I'm not terribly worried about this, but I'd just like to make it a little bit neater. So I'm going to be very, very careful taking a linishing wheel on a die grinder to my standard and unmolested motorcycle. Wish me luck. Right, here we go. I'm going to start off very carefully and then get more confident as I go along. So I'm going to put it bluntly, it's pretty obvious I've done that at the moment. Depending on the light, it's more or less obvious. If it was dark, I don't think you'd notice at all. To the touch, it is obviously considerably smoother than it was before. I've taken out a lot of the sort of harsh lumps, but there is a sort of bit of powdering around the outside of it, and it's a bit more polished than the rest of the arm. Aluminium naturally oxidises, so over time that will actually sort of blend in a little bit better with the rest of the swinging arm. I'm not entirely sure if Honda actually sort of coat this or lightly anodise it or do anything to keep the corrosion away from it, but at the moment it's not exactly blending in. So I've kept going a little bit to try and take some of the depth out of some of the scratches. Some of them annoyingly do actually go quite deep, so I'm not going to get all of it out without going too deep on the swinging arm. But I think, it is actually a lot smoother. What I'm going to do as the next step though is get some Scotch-Brite, get it really wet with some oil, and just sort of rub it along here and just see if I can actually get the area to blend in a little bit nicer. And with this I'm just being really careful to go the correct way with the graining. If I go up and down or in circles or anything, we're going to end up with the graining on a completely different angle, and that's going to look even worse. Well, I think it looks better than it did when it was scratched. Depending on the light depends how obvious it is that that section's been done. What I might try as one last little bit is a little bit of emery paper just to try and get a bit more graining back into that section, because at the moment it's just a little too polished. What it probably required to begin with was a slightly coarser linishing sort of sand on the die grinder, but I didn't know that. It is all a learning curve. So it turns out the emery paper is a bit too aggressive, it was taking a bit too much of the original finish off earlier in the swinging arm, so I've stopped using that fairly quickly, had another little flat down with the Scotch-Brite, and I think I either need some really fine emery to bring it back, or some coarser Scotch-Brite will probably do the job. But I'm going to put it out there. It's certainly less scratched than when I started, and hopefully with a bit of oxidisation that'll actually colour up almost the same as the rest of the swinging arm. So answers on a postcard, or even in the comments below. Have I ruined my swinging arm? I think no, but I've been proven wrong before.